Southern resident orca populations are facing challenges in surviving from multiple directions. One important stressor orcas are facing is noise pollution, which negatively impacts their ability to locate food and communicate with each other. This topic is extremely important because orcas are an endangered species. Orca populations, and specifically southern resident orcas, have been in decline since the mid-20th century due to the aquarium trade. Orcas were captured at great rates and put into aquariums and marine centers, greatly reducing wild populations. Even after this was stopped, orca populations have continued to decline. As of 2018, it is believed there are only 74 southern resident orcas in the wild. There are many factors contributing to their endangerment, such as less availability of prey, disruption from noise, and changing ocean conditions due to climate change. Noise pollution is important because it is further limiting orcas' abilities to catch prey and communicate. Due to poor visibility underwater, orcas use calls, clicks, and whistles to communicate with each other, and a behavior called echolocation to find prey. Echolocation is when orcas make a sound at a particular frequency, usually a long call or short click, and then the sound hits the target fish and sends an echo back to the orca. The orca can tell by the sound of the echo how far away the fish is and how it is moving, so it can track and eventually catch it. Here we see an orca using echolocation to hunt and catch a salmon. If the ocean is too noisy, orcas have a hard time using echolocation to locate food. Especially for southern resident orcas that primarily eat Chinook salmon and not marine mammals like seals, echolocation is critical to catching prey. Chinook salmon populations have drastically declined due to reduced habitat, creating limited supply for orcas. Noise pollution is considered any noise that is unwanted or excessive and can cause harmful effects on organisms. In the marine environment, most noise pollution is caused by humans, such as big cargo ships transporting goods, tourism and fishing, and even just recreational boats. Ship noise is primarily made from the propellers whirling around to push the boat forward. The bigger the boat or the faster it is moving, the louder the propellers are. While the sound of boats to us on land can often make our conversations difficult and create a lot of background noise, underwater this sound is much louder and harder to get away from. Sound travels 4 times faster underwater, up to a mile per second. While a small motorboat might create noise pollution in a particular area for only a few minutes since it's moving so fast, for larger container ships that travel slowly, this noise pollution can be practically constant and inescapable for marine organisms. How loud underwater noise is depends on vessel speed and number of vessels, so as either one goes up, the noise level experienced by orcas also increases. For orcas, this is especially problematic because they live in coastal waters, close to where ports where ships are coming in and out of very frequently are. Large container ships cause a low-sounding frequency in the same range orcas make for echolocation. This means that the sound of ships traveling overhead can make it very challenging for orcas to hear their own echolocation. Many studies have confirmed this and show that when ships are moving and orcas are present, their behavior changes and foraging goes down. In order to find food over the sound of ships, orcas increase their vocal behavior or travel to find quieter waters to hunt. This takes up a lot of energy and time that could be spent foraging or doing other critical behaviors, and contributes to poorer health. One study found that noise from vessels led to loss of close to 5 hours of foraging per day. Over many months, this leads to serious stress and malnutrition, which can make orcas unable to mate and raise young or travel long distances. The noise of ships is a huge problem because finding food is already a problem for orcas. Noise pollution is not a new problem, but it is a growing one. Since the 1950s, underwater noise has doubled every decade and is predicted to continue to increase in the coming years. Since food sources for southern resident orcas is also declining, noise pollution is creating an even tougher environment to find food in. This combination of challenges is causing orca populations to decline. While efforts to address food supply have been taken, noise pollution is directly caused by humans and therefore can be fixed by us. We now understand and see exactly how this is a problem and can recognize that orca populations in decline are a problem not only for the orcas but also for us and the many economic systems orcas support. Most importantly of these systems is the whale watching industry. Ecotourism is a big industry, worth over $216 million annually in the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia. In order for this industry to continue, there must be orcas in the wild to watch. Engaging the whale-watching industry in this issue and explaining why it matters to their businesses is a great way to increase care and concern for orca populations. Studies have shown that while 2/3 of lost foraging time due to noise pollution is caused by cargo ships, up to 1/3 is due by whale-watching ships. Programs that teach whale-watching organizations how to reduce the impact of noise pollution on orcas is one way to address this conservation issue. Several proposals have been made to create a stricter licensing program to reduce whale-watching in Puget Sound, a critical habitat for orcas. Even simple changes such as reducing the number of outings per day or looking into what time of day foraging happens and not scheduling tours for that time could greatly reduce the impact of noise pollution on orcas. As consumers of these tours, we can ask questions of companies and support tours that are taking efforts to reduce their noise pollution and be conscientious of the needs of orcas. Another approach to reducing noise pollution for orcas would be targeting big cargo ship practices. Perhaps in the peak season for foraging and raising calves, shipping routes can be adjusted to avoid popular feeding areas. Often ships travel at fast speeds just to end up sitting in port waiting to dock because it is too crowded. If communication were better, ships could travel slower, especially around orcas, creating less noise, and better time their arrival to port and spend less time waiting to dock. This is a win-win for orcas and doesn't negatively impact the shipping industry. Noise pollution is a problem that needs to be addressed now, as it is only going to get worse in the future. While it seems daunting, this is a problem created by humans and therefore fixable. It doesn't rely on any other organisms or levels in the ecosystem, like restoring prey populations does. We can educate the whale watching industry and engage consumers who use the industry and can use their money to support companies that have quieter ships and are taking steps to reduce their contribution to noise pollution. While noise pollution is only part of the problem negatively impacting southern resident orcas, it is a key part that needs to be addressed in order to protect these vulnerable populations.